Array input lets you edit an array of data embedded inside another record. Let's see that with an example. I have an admin for a poster shop that lets me edit the posters, the customers, and the orders. And for each order, I can currently edit the amount, and each order has a basket with an array of items. So here basket is an array of product ID and quantity, and what I want is for each element in the basket to display a subform with one input for the product ID and one other for the quantity. And for that I'm going to use the array input. So when I save, I can see that I can now edit the elements in the basket. How does array input work? Array input takes a source like other inputs, and it expects one child, which is a form iterator. Form iterator will repeat the same inputs as many times as there are items in the array. Simple form iterator gives me a nice UI allowing me to remove or add elements like that. Here it's not really obvious because there is only one item, but when there are more than one items, I can move up and down, which is not useful here. So I can disable reordering on the form iterator. So now I only have the remove item element. And simple form iterator takes, as I said, input as children. And here I'm using reference input and number input. So I can choose related product, and I can change the quantity. And when I save, these choices are persisted. So now I would like to customize the layout a bit. For instance, having these two inputs one by line is not very readable, so I'm going to use an inline layout. So each row is one line, each row in the basket is one line. And here I have some space reserved for the helper text of each input. I would like to have something more dense, so I'm going to remove the helper text false. And I would like to do the same for reference input, but that won't work because reference input is not an input on its own. Reference input is a wrapper around another input, which is autocomplete input. So I need to import autocomplete input. There I can put my helper text false, and now I will have a more dense layout. Another thing I would like to do is to add a label at the beginning of each row, and for that I can use the get item label prop of simple form iterator, and it's a function get item label that takes as a parameter the index, and that must return a string. So I'm going to return a string, for instance, the index. Yeah, so now I have a label in front of each row. So as I said, array input lets me edit an array of embedded objects. I can also edit an array of scalar values. So for instance here, as I said, the orders object, the order object has an array of objects, but I also have for the customers an array, and this is an array of groups, but now it's not an array of objects, it's an array of strings, scalar values, but I can still use array input for that. And if I go to this customer, I can see that I have an array input here to edit the groups, and the way it works is I'm also using simple form iterator. It has a single child, which is text input with an empty source, and now I can edit the groups just like I did with the basket item. So array input is great to edit embedded arrays, but what if you want to edit in a single form one record and an array of related records, like for instance a product and its different variants? For that, we have an equivalent of array input called reference many input. Reference many input is a reference input, so it takes a reference and a target, and it has the same API as array input because it takes a form iterator as child. So here, for instance, if I want to display a product and its variants, each variant having a product ID, I can simply say reference many input and use the reference and the target, and it will display a form with one variant per row. That's it for array inputs, and thanks for watching. Happy coding.